Hi, everyone. Hello, welcome to today's. We're doing the part two of the communication series. Um, Today, we're going to cover everything on delivering feedback. This is a really popular topic at Marlow. We have a lot of resources on it. So as you're coming in, if you're ever looking for follow-up information, go ahead and bring it up to your coach, or you can go to getmarlow.com/guides. You'll see the communication guide there, as well as the feedback guide. So any of those resources can help you after this panel, but we are going to try to cover everything we can about feedback. If you have any questions, just go ahead and start submitting them in that Q&A chat box down below, and we'll get to them as soon as we can. But today I have our coaches here, Seid and Shonna Amos, to deliver those pressing question and answers that you guys have submitted it up until this point. Chelsea is Marlow's co-founder and head of coaching. She's a certified executive coach with over 10 years of HR and talent development experience. Shonna is a certified professional coach with a diverse background in HR, talent development, L&D. She does it all. And she's here actually originally from recruiting, so just that really good diverse background in HR. So she's able to bring that expertise with her to the team. Hi, guys.
Hi, thanks, Hayley.
So as we again keep trickling in there, we're going to go ahead and start off the questions here. If you are watching this later on, go ahead and feel free to email the team at any point if you have any questions and weren't able to attend the live today. But first off, I kind of wanted to connect what we discussed last time. Chelsea, in the last webinar, we discussed communicating expectations and how important that was. Now, how does that play into delivering feedback?
Yeah, of course. So as a reminder to everyone, expectations were about communicating and clarifying your assumptions, what you wanted done, right? What were your expectations around the action, the behavior, and the results for anything you were hoping would be done, and discussing that with the other parties. So looking for alignment there. Feedback is really delivering and communicating information to let you and others know where they've been successful and what may need to change. So when you set an expectation, then inevitably you are delivering feedback or communicating information around how well that expectation is being met. And if you're receiving the feedback, then you're receiving information on how well you are meeting those expectations. I also wanted to present, just as an introduction, a very basic formula, both to deliver and to ask for feedback for today, which is the situation behavior impact SBI formula. So whether you are delivering or asking for feedback, you can start by stating the situation. What's the context? What are we talking about? Deliver or ask about the behavior that you want changed or reinforced. Share the impact of that feedback. So why does it matter? And then what's the request? I'd love to know what you think about this, or next time I'd look for you to change this, right? And so situation, behavior, impact plus question or request. So that's kind of the basic format we'll use today. It's in our feedback guide as Hayley shared, but we're going to be focusing today going, I think, a little bit more nuanced. And Shonna, I'm sure you have an example based on what I just shared on how we could get even more nuanced.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's one of my favorite models because it's so clear. You can really think about what's the purpose and the impact of the behavior. I think when you talked about expectations and what you all discussed last time, something that can often be missed is setting expectations around feedback. And by that, I mean, how do I as a manager give feedback and what can you expect from me? Is it after a presentation? Will I pull you to the side and share how you did? Or will I say, hey, let's go for a quick chat and get some coffee and talk about it real time? Or is it typically during scheduled meetings? So I think people have that fear around feedback still. And the more that you communicate expectations and then also really get to understand people's preferences around feedback, it could just help to ease some of that angst.
I love it, getting meta right away. How do you set expectations around feedback? Perfect.
I love that you kind of bring up this fear, because as soon as you hear the word feedback, I mean, it's kind of gives a negative connotation. It's scary. It brings up, hard conversations, those kind of rigid once a year performance reviews that everyone gets a little nervous for. Shonna, how are these feedback conversations taking place? Or are you moving away from those kind of once a year performance reviews? What do you see happening with your members lately?
Yeah, I think within the industry, there's a lot of varying things that are happening. I was personally within an organization where we did have that mid-year and in-year conversation, and that was the extent of our performance management discussions. And we moved away from that mid-year, we called it a check the box, and we encouraged ongoing conversations that could help to build relationships, foster trust, to, things shift, priorities shift. You might be working on something that you weren't even thinking about at the beginning of the year. So it just offers that opportunity to really continue to think about what is the priority and what should I be focusing on and how can I best support you. And I think a lot of organizations, even the ones that are moving away from performance conversations completely and not doing performance ratings, they are also following the ones that are successful, I should say. There's a little caveat, but they're following that same approach of having ongoing conversations, be it biweekly meetings, and not just focused on performance feedback, but also your development too. So I think that the organizations that are truly successful do see this as an opportunity to do more than just give feedback. It's all about what is that relationship and rapport, and how can I support you holistically as my team member.
I love the holistic perspective. I'd actually encourage people from this to drop the word feedback from your lexicon altogether. I often say like feedback comes out like capital F, feedback, when in reality, it's any information that you're giving people anytime that tells them how well they're doing. So if they just completed a really big project where they were super successful and you said nothing, you gave feedback. You actually missed an amazing opportunity to reinforce and probably gave them negative feedback on accident. And so your body language, how you lean into conversations, your tone of voice, your volume, what you're actually saying is all feedback. It's all information that tells me how successful I am. And so with Shonna sharing, like, think about the holistic relationship and how you are helping that person develop and to be more successful, how you're helping yourself develop and be more successful. So even if you have a rigid performance feedback structure, great. If you don't, great. All of that's irrelevant. Your job as a manager is still to be constantly aware of how you are asking for information on how you can be more successful, as well as delivering information on where others can be more successful. So if you delete the feedback word, how does that help you to improve?
Mhm.
So Chelsea, what about positive feedback? How is that different here?
Yeah, and we're going to use the feedback word for this chat today.
I know, I'm sorry.
No, we're going to use it to
cover my
rest.
mouth on that one.
No, we should. We're using it just for clarity. Stop using it with your team members.
Yeah.
Positive feedback is one of my favorite things. I think we forget how often with positive feedback, we could also mean recognition, reinforcement, congratulations, like any of these things could be positive feedback. And so I would just use the same formula. And I think that's the biggest miss actually we tend to make as managers, is not being thoughtful on our positive feedback. So great work today. Awesome. Good job. Thumbs up. Dancing salsa lady on Slack. Any of these things can be considered positive feedback, but they're weak. Give stronger positive feedback. Use that whole formula. Here's the situation. Here was the behavior you did really well. Here was the impact of why it was really well, how it helped our team move forward towards our goals. Keep it up, double down, do more of that. So this, how do I motivate my team? How do I get them excited? How do I recognize them for their hard work? All of that is positive feedback, technically, right? Stronger words. And so spend time on it, be nuanced about it. Shonna, what are you saying there?
Yeah, I completely agree, because if you just say, hey, great job, you did great in that presentation, you may be assuming that, okay, I knew my stuff, I answered questions well, and they might specifically be talking about your ability that you didn't use filler words and you improved your presence. So what is it that specifically I did a great job at? I'm using great, good, great, whatever it may be. And then what can I do more of that will continue to help me and our team and the company to be successful? So I truly appreciate that point of specificity.
Write those questions down if you're listening to this. And I would ask you to think, do I ask them? Like, that's really smart. Anytime your manager says great job, what specifically worked well? What was great about this work? I love those.
Yeah. If I could add one other point too, I've heard the term feed forward. And I think oftentimes when we hear feedback, we're thinking about the past. And even if you're giving opportunistic feedback, or if you're giving feedback that is, I'm saying feedback again, but if you're giving some type of feedback that's helping people to move forward in a positive way, because all of it is positive. I think if you have the courage and the willingness to share something that someone is either doing well or could be doing differently or course correcting, it's because you care and you want them to be successful and you want them to move forward in a positive way.
I like that. Feed forward.
Feed forward. Yeah, I'm going to start switching it. Okay, so speaking of feed forward, who do managers need to actually seek that from, Shonna? I know you mentioned it. What if I'm, as a manager, what if I'm not getting the feedback I need to perform?
Yeah. So this is, I think about this, it's like it was yesterday. I remember doing a couple leadership development programs and management development programs talking about feedback specifically. And I would always ask the question, how often are you asking your team members for feedback? And most of the time, managers would say, no, I'm not doing that. And then on the other side of it, I would ask team members, how often is your manager asking you for feedback? Or how often are you giving feedback? And oftentimes people would say, I can't give my manager feedback. I can't just tell them what they're not doing well, or even I would even say, hey, what about the things that they're doing well? Do you reinforce that the same way that you just said, so that they know how they are serving you in the right way? And I think that managers have the responsibility to be proactive with asking for feedback and thinking about who is that from. It's your team members, it's your peers, it's your leader. And your question, Hayley, was, if I'm not getting the feedback, really think about, what is it that you want to know? What's important to you? I remember having a leader. She was very go with the flow. She didn't believe in one-on-ones. And I know my style. I need to know how I'm doing. I need to know that we have a firm time where we're going to talk on the calendar, and it's my time to talk through some things. And in that, I would even send her some questions. Hey, here's what's going on, and these are some things that I want feedback on. And she adjusted. It was a big adjustment for her, but she was able to adjust. So I think really thinking about, what is it that you want feedback on, what's important to you, and how will that serve you in order to feel like you know your place and you're able to be successful is key. But that proactive nature, managers, I strongly encourage you to think about, who do I need to ask for feedback from, and what's the purpose of the
I love that. The two areas that stand out to me there, I think the first is being proactive, but specifically in my role, like, what are all the expectations of me? Go back to expectations. Well, if I am meeting or exceeding expectations, what does that look like? And am I getting feedback to confirm those things are actually occurring? And then the second thing you shared about, are you doing it with your team members? If you want it for them, that's a basic loop of trust, right? To get trust, you have to give it. And to be vulnerable, to ask for feedback from your team, to give them the trust to ask those tough questions, you will get it back in return, right? It starts with you. Take the first step. Hey, my team members aren't ever comfortable with feedback conversations. I love what you are. You, do you do it yourself, right? Mirror the behavior you want to receive from your team. I think it's awesome.
Yeah, and I think overall, on either side, that's going to relieve a lot of anxiety of what your job performance is and where you stand now. So I think it's really important even to just bring it up. Okay, so putting yourself in a new manager, Chelsea, especially for those new managers who are actually managing their former peers now, say they just got promoted, how can they navigate those feedback conversations? How can they get that started?
I think this can definitely feel like the toughest one, because oftentimes we talked about the rigid structure of feedback with performance reviews. There's authority there, right? And there's like basic influence and power. So I am manager, you are direct report, I deliver feedback. If we start to shift, which is a lot of what we've been talking about, away from that rigid way of thinking, even if the rigid model still exists, and think about this as a more ongoing conversation, you're asking for it as much as you're delivering it, you're discussing feedback forward or feed forward, you're discussing feedback on positives, recognition. It starts to lay the groundwork for those challenging moments when it's like, okay, now I'm managing a team of my used to be peers and I need to deliver feedback to them. Well, if you were already delivering and discussing and asking for feedback from your peers, that would be easier, right? If you already had a strong culture and foundation of feedback existing amongst your team members, not just your direct reports. Now, if you just started managing and you don't yet have that strong foundational culture of feedback, start there. Like Shonna said at the very beginning, how do you like to receive feedback? Here's how I normally deliver it. What works for you? What feels good about this for you? Like, what would best set you up for success? Start with building that strong foundation and culture. And if you're not managing peers today and you're not in some, strange or challenging management environment, build that culture up, down, sideways right now. Because eventually there will be a moment when like you need to give feedback to someone senior to you or to a peer and it feels strange.
Mhm.
I'm curious, what other like examples have you guys seen of like kind of difficult, positions of a manager or something like that with your former peers? Like what else have you seen that people can really relate to that makes feedback a little bit more difficult?
I think those situations where you're preparing to give feedback on maybe something that you didn't excel at when you were that person's peer, or even if it's a behavior that you're addressing that you're thinking, gosh, we were friends and they know that I had the same shared behavior, I can address that. I think going back to what you just shared around I think you have to level set really and say, I do understand that this is the way we operate it as peers, and as a manager now, this is my focus and this is the why. So people understand the reason that maybe you're changing your view on that behavior or changing your expectations, because it may be a shock to them and saying, like, wait a minute, we were in this together. Now all of a sudden you're my manager and things are just completely different. So the more that you're transparent about that, you talk about it, acknowledge it, because it can kind of feel like the elephant in the room, but just being outward with it and talking about it and having some dialogue around it so you both or the full team can get to a point of understanding, I think is key. But that can be a very tricky situation where you're not very confident in how you operate, but yet you're still expected or need to give feedback on those specific topics.
I love that example because I'm often asked, I present and do workshops on that formula from the beginning all the time. And oftentimes we overlook the situation in the SBI. Like, oh yeah, state the situation, whatever. This example Shauna's giving is like the situation is basically the only thing that matters here. That's where we're spending most of our time. Like the situation has changed. I am now your manager, or expectations have shifted, or the needs of the organizations are different. Like that's another time I find feedback's really hard, Hayley, is in change management. Like the team's mandate is new. So I need to give you feedback on something that you didn't originally have expectations for. You were hired to do A, and now you're failing at your job because I need you to do B. And that's not even what you were hired for. So then spend most of your time in the situation, right? Let's get alignment on the context. Let's really agree that this is where the organization is today. It's what the organization needs today. Let's get solid alignment here before I even start to go into the gap and the behavior that needs changed. It's a really interesting example you gave.
Before we move on, we have an interesting Q&A here that I just want to take the time to address. So bear with me as I read here. So we have someone who's going through a culture change right now with their enabling performance process and have implemented many, many things that you are referencing, the SBI, ongoing feedback, etc. One thing we are tackling now is trying to really encourage team members to give team members feedback or feed forward, thank you, in a natural way or a spontaneous way. Do you have any advice about how to move the culture needle in this kind of feedback situation?
I'll jump in, and not to be a broken record, but my starting advice would be remove the word feedback and just communicate about how things are going. Give them better language to use. So you could use a design retrospective language is some of my favorite. So, what would be even better if, or I wonder if, and so give them language that is conversational and in any part of a conversation. So, hey, after every meeting or after every project is submitted or during one-on-ones, I encourage you to consistently share information or feed forward using, it'd be even better if, or I wonder if we did it like this. And so giving them different, more conversational language where they're still sharing information that's technically feedback. I found that really effective. And so then people start to constantly use it, or what worked well was. And so any of that sort of conversational language that then they insert feedback after, because situation behavior impact, wonderful, and also feels very feedbacky, even very performance reviewy, versus, well, I wonder if what worked well was, it would be even better if next time can be more slackable.
I
I think
love
the more
that. I
you
think
practice those things, the
yeah,
better and more easier. I think Shauna, you and I are on the same level here. It does take time, especially
Mm.
when,
it does. It does.
Shauna,
And
how
if
do
you
you think you
want
can practice?
something, yeah, I was just going to echo that sentiment. If you have some examples of what to say and how to start the conversation, but it feels simple, because
Mm.
some people are going to latch onto it, move forward, they'll be fine. Some people will wonder, how will this impact my relationship? This is new. This is something I haven't done before. Will they want to hear my feedback? So if you have something that you can very simply say in team meetings or in a one-on-one setting, then I think that really helps. One, for you to see that other people are modeling the behavior and they're doing it. So it's like, okay, this is safe. We can do this. They mean it when they're asking us to do it. So I really like that approach a lot.
Yeah, definitely. Thank you for your question. If you guys have more, just feel free to submit and we'll follow up with those as well. But kind of moving on with delivering here, let's talk about situational leadership. How do you adjust feedback, taking into account situational leadership? Chelsea, I know you have, a lot of,
My favorite.
yeah,
Um,
you have a
so
big passion for that.
yeah, situational leadership is the need for a leader to adapt their behaviors based on their environment. And so you want to think about, how much time do I have? What's the skill and the willingness of the person I'm talking to? And what's the risk at hand? And then from there, you're basically going to do one of four things. You're going to tell someone what to do, ask a question, have a discussion, coach them, train them, which is participating, or you're going to delegate. And so with feedback, you can do that in every place, right? Like, is this a place where I need to be directive and I need to tell them what's going on because I don't have a lot of time and it's super high risk? Or is this a place where we have a lot of time and space and it's a very low risk environment? Like Shauna's really challenging feedback example where roles have shifted or behaviors have shifted. That's probably a place where you're mostly in the discussion zone, right? You're asking a lot of questions. You're focused on getting buy-in. So Shauna, how else do you use situational leadership with feedback?
Yeah, I think one of the things that I like to remind people about with situational leadership is to really think about that person's ability and willingness as it relates to the specific task. And not, I remember people saying, okay, this person they're a rock star, they're doing well, they know how to do everything. And sometimes those top performers are the ones that are not getting feedback because there's this assumption that they know how to do everything, but it may be a task that is very new to them. If priorities have shifted and they're leading a project and on something that they've never been exposed to, you may have to go back to that more directive style because it's brand new and they may need that, but you may operate with the assumption that, oh, they have it figured out. So I really think about looking at it in a task specific way versus diagnosing that person's readiness and willingness on all tasks in the same way.
I like that a lot. Yep.
So let's say after all this, we've delivered the feedback in whatever way, that direct report needs that feedback. We followed all the steps, but the performance didn't improve. What are the next steps there? What do you take, Shonna?
So my first thought is to try to, I love the acronym WAIT. Why am I talking? Because I think we might naturally want to go into problem solving mode and just let them know what didn't go well. This is how expectations weren't met. But you're missing the opportunity to learn a lot if you go right into telling them what to do and how to fix it. My first recommendation is to hear their story, ask them, what were the expectations? What is your opinion and your thought on the progress that you made? What barriers got in the way? What support did you need? That way you can really understand, did they really make an effort? Were they challenged with something that maybe they didn't expect to happen? Or is it a situation where they said that they were all in, but they were misrepresenting their commitment to whatever it is that they were trying to execute? So the more that you remain curious and you listen to them and you hold back on what it is that you want to say, you might find that they're actually telling you the full story and solving for what they will do next without you even having to go into feedback or feed forward mode. Because oftentimes people know the reality and they may be willing to speak up and say, this didn't quite go well, or this is going great, but we have to give them that opportunity and remain curious and take that moment to really just pause and learn. I also want to throw out there that understanding and partnering with your HR representative or HR business partner to really understand what the company and the organization's philosophy is around feedback is going to be key. There were times in the past where if someone comes and they say, hey, I want you to put this team member on a performance improvement plan, my first question is, well, what was the expectation? And what feedback did you give that person? And how have they responded since you gave that feedback? And sometimes I would hear, oh, I haven't given them any feedback. They know what they're adults and they know what they should be doing, but we have to ensure that we are in line with the organization's practices and processes, but also not just going right to this person should know and they're not doing well and they don't need any help from me.
The extra thing I would add here that I think I see most often in coaching is either they know, right? They should know that's what they were hired to do, right? That comes up a lot. Like, I didn't give them feedback on it. The other one that I think comes up even more because, you know, people are thoughtful and they're participating in coaching, they're probably already in the space, protective hesitation. Like, I don't want to hurt their feelings. I don't want to cause more harm than good, right? And it's such a positive intention with an even more negative result. And the person often knows, you know, if you're in protective hesitation mode, you know it's harmful to your team and you're just like dying to get out of that pattern. And again, to Shonna's point, like, go to HR, get some help, practice with them, learn what are the tools or resources available to me to find out how to deliver feedback more effectively. Like, sometimes when you're in protective hesitation mode, just using a formula can help. Like, you a script, practice the script. Other times it's understanding feedback's expected of you and you're missing an expectation. Like, what is it that would help you get past that? Because these patterns of performance that you want changed, patterns of negative performance, oftentimes, like, look in a mirror, right? Did I set a clear expectation up front? Have I been delivering ongoing feedback? No, your team member's not at fault here, right? Get some help, get more involved. You can fix a pattern. Figure out why the pattern is there. I love wait, writing down wait on my computer. Why am I talking? I was paid to be here. No, I'm kidding. I think that's great. Thank you for sharing, Shonna.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, thanks. Now that's all the questions we have today. I just kind of want to wrap up, but also kind of introduce the next topic we have coming up, which would be difficult conversations. A lot of this will, you know, inherently feed into it. So the communication series as a whole, just to recap, we did communicating expectations, delivering that feedback, but also addressing those difficult conversations that come with these things. Chelsea, Shonna, do you have any kind of final thoughts as we move out and then move into the next conversation in the next webinar?
Stop using the word feedback day to day.
Yeah, I need that
Message
one.
me and tell me how it goes. Not for you, I'm saying for the world, everyone listening. I really encourage, just drop it completely. And see how that helps you. That's my takeaway.
I like the mindset of feed forward. Even if you have to kind of explain it just a little bit, I think it's a great word, even to kind of shift your thought process on it.
Yeah. And my advice, honestly, and final thoughts are just to practice. If you're sitting there thinking, gosh, this is so scary, it's scary for most of us. And even if you have years and years of practice, you will still have situations where it can get your nerves just bubbling up quite a bit. So I would just suggest you just continue to practice, give yourself some grace, don't expect perfection from yourself, and just you'll get more and more comfortable.
All right. And I see some people popping up in that chat box there. If you would like to submit a question or raise your hand, go ahead and I will put you in for the next couple minutes here, but we will wrap up. Let's see. I think I just have people in that chat.
Take questions when you share the recording too, right?
Yeah. All right. Well, if you have questions, go ahead and submit them. You can always email us. The email to go to if it's your coach, or you can always email events@getmarlow.com and we'll try to help you out. All right, thanks guys. We'll wrap it up for today and we'll see you next time for the Difficult Conversations webinar.
Thanks, Hayley.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.